Did you know that deep in West Texas, mysterious lights have danced across the desert horizon for over 140 years, defying every scientific explanation thrown at them? That beneath the hill country sits a pink granite dome so massive it groans and creaks at night like a living thing, giving rise to centuries of ghost stories. And that hidden in the piney woods of East Texas lies the state's only natural lake, a haunting labyrinth of moss-draped cypress trees where alligators glide through tea-colored water. Texas isn't just cowboys and oil fields. It's a land of geological impossibilities, unexplained phenomena, and landscapes so extreme they reshape what you thought possible. Get ready because today you'll discover 50 incredible facts about Texas that will completely change the way you see the colossal, contradictory heart of America. 50. The nation within a nation. Between 1836 and 1845, this wasn't just land waiting to become American. It was its own country. The Republic of Texas functioned as a sovereign nation with its own president, currency, and diplomatic relationships with France and Britain. When Texas finally joined the Union in 1845, it did so through treaty, not conquest. Geographically, this makes Texas the only state that was ever truly a peer to the United States before becoming part of it. 49. The Capitol building that towers over Washington. The Texas State Capitol, completed in 1888, stands 308 feet tall. That makes it 15 feet taller than the U.S. Capitol, a calculated statement of ambition from a state that joined the Union barely 4 decades earlier. It was constructed from sunset red granite, giving the building a distinctive pink hue that glows in the afternoon light. 48. The ranch bigger than Rhode Island. King Ranch spans 825,000 acres of continuous land. The entire state of Rhode Island covers 776,957 acres. King Ranch is larger. Founded in 1853, this isn't just a ranch but a self-contained ecosystem spanning 6 counties with over 35,000 head of cattle. Driving from one end to the other takes longer than crossing some European countries. 47. The speed limit that breaks American records. On a 40-mile stretch of Texas State Highway 130 between Austin and San Antonio, the speed limit reads 85 miles per hour. This is the highest posted speed limit in the entire United States. The distance from El Paso in far west Texas to Beaumont in the southeast is 850 miles, more than the distance from El Paso to San Diego, California. 46. The mysterious lights that science cannot explain. Drive 9 miles east of Marfa, Texas, and if you wait long enough, you'll see them. Glowing orbs of light appear on the horizon, sometimes white, sometimes yellow, occasionally red or blue. They hover, split apart, merge together, and dance across the desert floor in patterns that defy logic. The Marfa lights have been documented since 1883, when a cowhand named Robert Reed Ellison first spotted them while driving cattle through Paisano Pass. He thought they were Apache campfires, but when settlers investigated, they found no ashes, no evidence of fires, nothing that could explain the phenomenon. Scientists from the University of Texas spent months studying them with spectroscopy equipment. Some lights matched car headlights refracted through desert air. But others, the genuine Marfa lights with odd behavior and unpredictable movement, remain unexplained. Temperature gradients can create mirages in desert air, but these lights appear year-round in varying conditions. The viewing area sits at 4,688 feet elevation where temperature swings of 50 degrees between day and night are common. But that alone doesn't account for lights that seem to possess intelligence, that respond to observers, that have been witnessed by thousands and captured by no one with scientific certainty. 45. The pink granite dome that cries in the night. Rising 425 feet above the Texas Hill Country, Enchanted Rock dominates the landscape like a bald pink skull emerging from the earth. This is no ordinary hill. Geologically, it's a batholith-formed one. 82 billion years ago when molten rock pushed up from deep within the earth and cooled beneath the surface. Millions of years of erosion stripped away the sedimentary rock above, exposing what you see today. At 1,825 feet above sea level, Enchanted Rock is the largest pink granite monadnock in the United States. But that's not what gives it its name. At night, as the massive dome cools after absorbing a full day of Texas sun, it creaks and groans. The sound carries for miles, a low, mournful wailing that early settlers and Native American tribes interpreted as supernatural. The Tonkawa believed ghost fires flickered at the summit. The Apache and Comanche considered it haunted, a place where spirits dwelled and spells could be cast on intruders. Geologically, the sound is thermal contraction, layers of granite expanding and contracting with temperature changes. But standing there at dusk, listening to a billion-year-old rock cry out in the darkness, the scientific explanation feels insufficient. 44. The only natural lake in a state of 10,000. Texas has over 7,000 named lakes. Almost every single one is artificial. But in the northeast corner, straddling the border with Louisiana, lies Caddo Lake. Bald cypress trees, some over 200 years old, rise from tea-colored water draped in Spanish moss. The lake covers 26,000 acres of labyrinthine channels and bayous so complex that paddlers without maps can get lost for hours. It's designated as a wetland of international importance. 43. The bat colony larger than Mexico City's population. North of San Antonio sits Bracken Cave. Every evening from March through October, 20 million Mexican free-tailed bats pour out in a living tornado that can be seen on weather radar. This is the largest known bat colony in North America. The population inside this single cave exceeds the entire human population of Mexico City. Each night, they consume an estimated 200 tons of insects. 42. The town that holds 90% of the world's helium. Beneath Amarillo, Texas, sits the Federal Helium Reserve. This single location contains roughly 90% of the world's recoverable helium supply. Helium forms deep underground from radioactive decay, trapped in rock formations for millions of years. Without the helium trapped beneath Amarillo, MRI machines, space exploration, and modern computing would halt. 41. The frozen margarita machine at the Smithsonian. In May 1971, Dallas restaurateur Mariano Martinez modified a soft-serve ice cream machine and created the world's first frozen margarita machine. That original machine now sits in the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History, recognized as a legitimate piece of American innovation. 40. The phrase that defined Bugs Bunny, "What's up, Doc?" was just a common greeting in North Texas during the 1920s. Tex Avery, the animator who grew up in North Dallas, threw it into a Looney Tunes script without thinking much about it. He exported it from Dallas playgrounds to global consciousness through animation. 39. The 6 flags that actually mean something. 6 different nations have claimed sovereignty over Texas at various points. Spain, France, Mexico, the Republic of Texas, the United States, and the Confederate States of America. Geographically, this makes Texas the only state that has been under the official jurisdiction of 6 different sovereign powers. 38. The independent power grid that stands alone. Texas operates ERCOT, an almost entirely independent grid that covers most of the state. The Lone Star State can generate and distribute electricity without federal oversight. It's not connected to the other 2 national grids except through a few small ties that allow minimal power exchange. ##37. The deadliest natural disaster in U.S. history. On September 8, 1900, a Category 4 hurricane made landfall at Galveston. The city, built on a low-lying barrier island, had no seawall, no elevation, no defense. Between 6,000 and 12,000 people died, making it the deadliest natural disaster in U.S. history. The next deadliest, Hurricane Katrina, killed around 1,200. 36. The first word spoken from the moon. On July 20, 1969, Apollo 11 landed on the moon. Neil Armstrong's first radio transmission began with, "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Houston houses NASA's Johnson Space Center, the nerve center of American space exploration. Every manned space mission is directed from Houston. 35. The canyon that rivals the Grand Canyon. Palo Duro Canyon stretches 120 miles long and reaches depths of 800 feet, exposing 250 million years of geological history. It's the second largest canyon in the United States after the Grand Canyon, carved by the Prairie Dog Town fork of the Red River over millions of years. 34. The town named Uncertain. When Uncertain, Texas, applied for a post office, surveyors couldn't determine whether it was in Texas or Louisiana because the border followed the meandering Sabine River. So they marked the location as Uncertain, and the name stuck. Population, roughly 94 people. 33. The state that could split into 5. When Texas joined the United States in 1845, the annexation agreement included a provision. Texas retained the right to divide itself into up to 5 separate states. The provision remains legally valid, though it's never been exercised. If Texas did split, the region would gain 10 Senate seats instead of 2. 32. The Vietnamese language hub. Nearly 250,000 Vietnamese Americans live in Texas, making Vietnamese the third most spoken language after English and Spanish. After the fall of Saigon in 1975, Houston offered economic opportunity and a climate similar to Vietnam. The Vietnamese community here became one of the largest in the country. 31. The law against milking someone else's cow. It is illegal to milk someone else's cow in Texas. The fine won't exceed $10, but the law remains on the books, classified as theft of personal property. Historically, cattle were wealth, and milk was a valuable resource worth protecting. 30. The live music capital of the world. Austin has more than 250 live music venues, more per capita than anywhere else in the United States. South by Southwest draws hundreds of thousands of visitors every March, turning downtown Austin into a week-long showcase of emerging talent. 29. The state with more species of birds than any other. Texas has more bird species than any other U.S. state, over 650 documented species. The Central Flyway runs directly through the state, funneling millions of birds south from Canada to Mexico each fall. You can see roadrunners in West Texas, whooping cranes on the coast, and painted buntings in South Texas. 28. The town that's closer to 6 state capitals than its own. El Paso sits 850 miles from Austin, the state capital. But it's only 320 miles from Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's closer to the capitals of New Mexico, Arizona, California, Nevada, Utah, and Colorado than it is to Austin. ## 27. The Dr. Pepper that has no period. Dr. Pepper was invented in Waco, Texas, in 1885. But there is no period after Dr. in Dr. Pepper. Early logos included the period, but it was dropped in the 1950s during a logo redesign, and the company never brought it back. 26. The 3 cities in the top 10. Houston ranks 4th with 2.3 million people. San Antonio ranks 7th with 1.4 million. Dallas ranks 9th with 1.3 million. No other state has 3 cities in the top 10 most populous U.S. cities. 25. The Juneteenth that started here. On June 19, 1865, Union General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston and announced that all enslaved people in Texas were free. This was more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. June 19 became Juneteenth, and in 2021, it became a federal holiday. 24. The suspension bridge that came first. In 1870, Waco completed construction of the Waco Suspension Bridge across the Brazos River. It was the first suspension bridge in the United States, predating the Brooklyn Bridge by 13 years. The bridge still stands, its original cables and structure intact. 23. The armadillo problem. When startled, armadillos jump straight up, a reflex that helps them avoid ground-level predators. But when the threat is a car, jumping places them directly in the path of the vehicle's undercarriage. Texas designated the armadillo as its official small mammal in 1995. 22. The meteor crater that's mostly forgotten. Near Odessa lies a meteor crater roughly 550 feet in diameter. It formed roughly 50,000 years ago when a nickel-iron meteorite slammed into the ground. It's one of only 3 confirmed meteor craters in the United States and the second largest. 21. The ghost town with 10,000 residents. Terlingua was a booming mining town with over 10,000 people in the early 1900s. When the mercury mines closed in the 1940s, the population collapsed. But a small population remained, and artists and people seeking isolation began moving in. The official population is around 60, but thousands visit each year. 20. The world's largest urban bat colony. Every evening from March through October, around 1.5 million Mexican free-tailed bats emerge from beneath the Congress Avenue Bridge in Austin. They consume up to 30,000 pounds of insects nightly. The city chose to protect them rather than remove them. 19. The university with its own oil wells. The University of Texas System owns 2.1 million acres of land in the Permian Basin. Oil companies lease the land and pay royalties. The Permanent University Fund, fed by oil revenues, is worth over $30 billion, making it one of the largest university endowments in the country. 18. The river that flows backward. During droughts, the Nueces River's flow reverses near its mouth. Saltwater from the Gulf of Mexico pushes inland, and the river flows backward, carrying ocean water upstream into freshwater ecosystems. The effect can last for weeks or months. 17. The town that's entirely private property. Shafter, Texas, is a former mining town that remained privately owned after the mines closed. You can visit and explore its abandoned buildings, but you're technically trespassing on private land the entire time. It has no government, no mayor, no public services. 16. The river that defines international relations. The Rio Grande forms the border with Mexico for over 1,200 miles, but it shifts course constantly. When it changes course, it creates legal problems about which land belongs to which country. The International Boundary and Water Commission manages the border through constant surveying. #15. The college with a nuclear reactor. Texas A&M University operates a 1 megawatt nuclear research reactor on campus. It's used for research, medical isotope production, and training nuclear engineers. Most students walk past it without realizing it's there. 14. The shortest highway in the state system. State Highway 165 is only 1.8 miles long. It runs from the Louisiana border to the town of Uncertain, Texas, and serves primarily as a connector road for fishermen heading to Caddo Lake. 13. The windmill farm that powers a city. Around Sweetwater, Texas, thousands of wind turbines cover over 100,000 acres. This is one of the largest wind farms in the world. Texas leads the nation in wind power production, generating more wind energy than the next 3 states combined. 12. The town that hosts the largest rattlesnake roundup. Every March, Sweetwater hosts the world's largest rattlesnake roundup, where hunters bring in thousands of western diamondback rattlesnakes. The snakes are weighed, measured, milked for venom, and eventually killed. The event draws over 30,000 visitors annually. 11. The border wall that keeps getting longer. Along the Rio Grande, sections of border wall separate Texas from Mexico. The wall is incomplete and probably always will be. The Rio Grande flows through canyons, private property, and wildlife refuges where construction is legally or physically impossible. 10. The courthouse where a president began. Lyndon B. Johnson's political career began in the Texas Hill Country near Johnson City. The one-room schoolhouse where he attended as a child still stands. Johnson later became the 36th President of the United States after Kennedy's assassination. 9. The aquifer that could run dry. The Edwards Aquifer supplies water to over 2 million people, including San Antonio and Austin. But water is being extracted faster than it's being replenished. During the 2011 drought, springs that had flowed for thousands of years went dry. 8. The petrified palm trees in the desert. In Big Bend National Park, you can find fossilized palm trees. 50 million years ago, this region was subtropical forest, humid and lush. The forests died, buried under sediment, and mineral-rich water replaced the organic material, turning the trees to stone. 7. The law that prohibits atheist office holders. The Texas Constitution states that no one can hold public office without acknowledging a supreme being. This is unenforceable. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled religious tests for office unconstitutional in 1961. But the clause remains because removing it would require a constitutional amendment. 6. The buried Cold War missile silos. Scattered across West Texas lie deactivated missile silos from the Cold War. Titan II intercontinental ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads sat on high alert for decades. After decommissioning, the silos were filled with concrete or left to decay. 5. The island that belongs to both states. In the Red River, there's an island that legally belongs to both Texas and Oklahoma. The Supreme Court declared the border follows the South Bank, but one island sits equidistant from both banks, making it impossible to assign to either state. 4. The town named after a bowl of soup. Claude, Texas, got its name from railroad workers eating clam chowder. Someone suggested naming the town after the soup. The pronunciation got Texanized to Claude, and it stuck. 3. The courthouse that's a perfect square. The Fayette County Courthouse in LaGrange was designed in 1891 as a nearly perfect square with mathematical precision. It functions as both government center and geometric monument, visible for miles across the prairie. 2. The state that entered by treaty. Most states joined through territorial annexation. Texas entered differently. It was an independent country that negotiated its entry into the Union through treaty in 1845, making it the only state to join as a peer nation. 1. The state that could secede but won't. The myth that Texas can legally secede persists because Texans want it to be true. The Supreme Court ruled states cannot unilaterally secede. But Texas is large enough, economically powerful enough, and culturally distinct enough that it theoretically could function independently. Still, secession would be catastrophic, and the idea never goes anywhere. This completely changes how you see Texas. Not just as the second largest state or the place with oil and cowboys, but as a geological, historical, and cultural outlier operating under its own logic. A place where mysterious lights dance in the desert, where granite domes cry at night, where rivers flow backward and towns exist in legal limbo. Texas isn't just big. It's impossible, contradictory, and utterly, defiantly itself.